Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this auspicious board party, is what I'm calling it on LinkedIn and on WhatsApp. Thank you for choosing me to host this evening. And thank you for bringing such a wonderful guest, such a special guest who is not only the CIO of board, but also a proud DICT alumnus. Today evening, we have Shashwat Singh with us. Shashwat is an alumni of DAIICT, post which he had an MBA from IIT Kharagpur. Post that he has worked with a few technological companies like I think more for consumer companies like HUL, Asian Paints, Kimberly Clark, has worked in supply chain technology and now works at Boat, which is a bit strange, but I would like to know how that switch happened. And we'll probably get to know towards the end of the evening. Shashwat is also the winner of multiple CXO awards. The most recently is the Alumni Award at IIT Kharagpur, if I'm correct, and he's one of the top 100 IT leaders in AP. Even that was recent, right?
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, this year.
Okay. Okay. How does it feel to be back, Shashwat, on campus? Would love to have you like physically, but even online, how does it feel to come back to college?
Well, it's an awesome feeling, Arnav, and thanks for the introduction. I really wanted to be present in person in the campus, and walk down the memory lane. It would have really been an awesome experience, but still feels good to be able to address the batches who are listening in and the other alumni guys also if they are tuned in into this. So, yeah, feels good to be back. Feels good to be able to talk back to the students of the current batches, as well as anyone else who's listening in now.
Okay, okay. So what we'll do is I have a few rapid fire questions with me to just
Okay,
get us up to speed, and we'll go ahead.
sure.
Okay. Your favorite headphone brand?
Boat, obviously.
Okay. If not both?
Well, I would not want to name anyone else. So yeah, boat all the way.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Your favorite DICT moment?
Well, it's very difficult to pick one, but multiple nights when we used to drive to Chiloda for Chiloda, I'm sure guys who are listening in would know what it is, right? For a late night dinner with a few of our friends. That was obviously the best memory that we have.
Okay. Okay. What did you hate at DICT?
Not much really. I mean, there was nothing to hate. I mean, it's an awesome 4 years. Just went past in a lightning fast moment. Every moment is worth cherishing, and for our batch, it was the founders batch as well, right? The first batch of the institute. So the bonhomie and camaraderie that the guys had was something that you not experience elsewhere. So nothing absolutely to hate about the 4 years.
Okay. Okay. And last but not least, who is your inspiration and why?
I didn't get that question, Arnav. Would you repeat,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah. Who is your inspiration and why?
Oh, well, okay. Now if I look at it, and it keeps changing, it depends on what part of your journey you are at right now. So now I'm looking at two of them. One who's one of our founders at Boat, Mr. Raman Gupta. Quite a lot to learn from him. And the second one that I'm looking at is Mr. Virat Kohli. The way he has resurfaced, and he's rediscovered what he could do for us. These are the guys that I'm looking up to right now, and it keeps evolving, depending on where you are at in your career, in your personal and professional life.
Correct.
Where do you want to go? Yeah, so it keeps changing for me at least, and these are the guys that I'm looking up to right now.
Any line that you live by, any quote that you live by, something like that?
Oh, yeah. So, and this is not, I'm not quoting anyone, but this is a firm belief that I have. Anything and everything can be solved with time and effort. So,
Mm.
this is a firm belief that I'm not sure if it's, someone else has said this, but this is what is my guiding principle in life at least.
Okay. How did this come by? Like, was it right from when you were a child, from early education, or did it come in when you started your career?
Well, I think it would have been ingrained in me through maybe when you get into high school. Otherwise, it's too early for someone to be able to think something so profound, right? But as and when you get into high school, you're going to get ready for your engineering and further on for your corporate career. What I realized is, howsoever big the problem might seem at that moment, if you just take a step back and if you look at what it is and how it can be broken down to smaller pieces, you'll realize that all it would take is time and a little bit of effort to solve whatever problem it might be. And this is something which I've been using extensively in my corporate stint, so life gets easier, when you are engineering, you will feel, oh my god, this the kind of issues that we are facing, this is like the end of the world. How would we get out in a situation in which we are as of now? But 5, 7, 10 years down the line, if you look back, you'll feel all of those were so trivial issues that you were facing at that time. And that
Okay.
realization, has come over a period of time, that whatever the situation might be, you yourself would be able to solve it. All that you need to do is to put some time into it and some efforts.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, that brings us to the end of the rapid fire, and I'll just switch back the questions again. Like, where did you grow up?
Okay, so I my school done between Bhilai and Raipur, these two towns. And after that, yeah, so
Okay.
uh, till 18 I was there, and then from there on, obviously Dhirubhai Ambani at Gandhinagar, then IT Kharagpur for the next couple of years. So been all around, right? After that, north, south, east, west. So
Okay.
once the bird kind of flies out of its nest, they belong to India rather than one specific part of the country.
I agree. But as a child, like were you always into IT or technology, computers? Like, कैसा था वो?
Not really. So, okay. So after when I finished my engineering, I was placed in a company called HP as a software engineer. It was one of the good jobs that were coming our way when our batch was coming out of the campus. But one bit that I was absolutely clear about is whatever I do, I'm not going to do coding. So it is a little, counterintuitive for someone who's
Yes,
coming
yeah.
from information and communication technology background. It's not that I did not love technology, but the piece where you need to get into the code, that was something which never appealed to me. So I was very clear that this is not something that I want to do, and therefore I wanted to get into the management side of technology. And the reason as to why I pursued my MBA immediately after college rather than starting my career as a coder or a software engineer.
Okay. And like and that's how I think your MBA came into the picture and helped you throughout your career. So there was no
Yeah.
real coding, hardcore stuff throughout your stint, or mostly it was just managing projects. It was more like that.
Yeah. So I think it will be restricted to writing that Hello World program in various languages which are introduced to us over a period of time, right? But beyond that, no, I did not have a lot of inclination to,
Okay.
code myself. I
Okay.
have been managing programmers almost all throughout my corporate career, and I really love doing that.
Okay.
But pseudocode is where my expertise ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've passed out of college 2 years back, and I've never coded myself after college. And it took
Yeah.
me a good 3, 4 seconds to actually understand, okay, pseudocode was actually writing just the structure of the code and not the code itself. So, yeah.
So yeah, you're on the right track, Arnav. Yeah, keep at it. I think so there are two types of technocrats, right? One who would really be able to create something out of thin air, right? The guys who write the piece of code, and then there are others who would be able to put it to the right use. So I belong to the
Makes
latter,
sense.
and since you also not done a lot of coding, I think you're also in that fraternity.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. No, I come from a traditional Baniya family, Bengali Baniya family. So business was always in the blood. I remember when I was writing, a lot of friends were doing MS at that point in time in the final year. And I was like, चलो मैं भी एक MS के लिए apply कर देता हूँ कहीं ना कहीं पे. Following the herd mentality, like whatever everyone is doing. Like my three or
Yeah.
four of my friends were pursuing an MS. So I wrote an essay for a college, and I still remember the first line that I wrote that and it's a quote that I saw somewhere in Google, and I wrote it that and the quote said, I was not that much into technology, but I was fascinated by what you could be done with technology actually. And I think that
Hmm.
that summarizes my journey also at DICT.
Hmm.
Because even if you're into sales, like I was into IT sales, and my degree helped me there. And being technocrats, we
Absolutely.
know we can talk about software and whatever that is. That falls in pretty easily. Makes sense. Makes sense. And but as in like okay, you were in the first batch of DICT, and I think that was just the beginning. There were no previous batches, no nothing like that. What were the hiccups that you had in your mind? Because आजकल लोगों को IIT, IIMs, they want that tag, that legacy of that college. You were going to a college with no legacy, just the founding fathers were there. How was it for you, your family, in the midst of all that?
Hmm. Sure. Yeah, very good question. So and this is a very interesting story as well. So when the counseling was being done for our batch, the campus was not ready. It was still under construction, and our counseling was done in almost a AC five-star tent. So the tent setup that was put across to conduct the counseling, that in itself was so impressive that some of the guys who had some concerns and some doubts around how the campus would get ready and all of it was just taken care of by the tent itself. And then the panel that was sitting on the podium there, it had Sam Petroda sitting with us during the counseling. uh, and for a institute which is just starting, one of the biggest concerns that most of the folks and their parents had at that point of time was placements का क्या होगा, नौकरी मिलेगी कि नहीं मिलेगी. ओके, सो आई मीन ऑब्वियसली इंजीनियरिंग तो हो जाएगी 4 साल की, बट विल यू गेट अ डिसेंट जॉब और नॉट. एंड दैट्स वेयर on day one or at the time of counseling, there was a commitment that was given by the Reliance Group at that point of time, that at the end of the 4 years, if guys are not placed elsewhere, we will absorb them. So that is a huge assurance that can come for guys who are a little concerned about how and where the college would go. Uh, so as I said, yeah, campus was not ready. Only one of the LTs was almost half done. It was not completed. The lab building that you guys see it as of now was nowhere to be seen. The cricket ground that you see as of now was, coming up a little bit. So very little infrastructure, but the panelists who were there guiding the folks at that point of time extremely strong. And for a batch of 240, the last person who was admitted was a rank number 456, 457, I think. So you can imagine, the conversion as well was extremely good. uh, Multiple hiccups in the first 6 months, 8 months continued, right? And the first one was our hostels were not ready.
Hmm.
So we were placed in this campus called NICM. I think that's the name of the college. I'm not sure. I don't remember
Correct.
it correctly now, but it's just across the road on the other side of the forest that we have in between, right? Between the two roads. So that was the hostel that we had to share with a lot of Guju bhais there in an ICM. And obviously, I mean, young blood, angry guys, right? So quite a lot of tussle used to happen between this college and that college. Uh,
Correct.
Interesting times, but yeah, then our hostel came about towards the end of year one. All of us moved there. Infrastructure also kept improving day by day. So canteen facility at the start was not that great, but then it kind of came up. Faculty right from day one was one to really vie for. So you would want to hear and learn from the guys who were teaching us at that point of time. Top-notch professors. The entire curricula that was designed the way it was designed, it was one of the first that had happened in India at that point of time. It was not like a traditional engineering course. In year one and year two, you'll have all common subjects, irrespective of what you're studying. So whether you're a
Correct.
mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer, year one you'll all study the same set of subjects. That is not how it was. It was a very tailored information and communication technology course. Uh, to have a subject like economics in the first semester or design thinking in the second semester. Now, these are things which were not heard of at that point of time. And I think
Correct.
if you look at our batch now, quite a lot of us are doing very, very different things as compared to, what their bachelors were. So I think the very right foundation was set up at that point of time. And most of us, I think, will echo this sentiment. We were extremely thankful to our alma mater to have given us this kind of a grounding, which is taking us places now.
I agree. I agree. I think freedom is one of the more prominent qualities at DICT. Even when I was there, I was exploring the whole 4 years. First year, you were just sinking in, enjoying the vibe. Second, third, fourth year, you see. Second year, I see you will see a lot of people, talking to seniors ki coding karna hai, ki kya karna hai. But
Mm.
even in
Yeah.
spite of all of that, you, I think, find your way at DICT. There are very less restrictions compared to any other college. I think there was good attendance policy at our time. I'm not sure what the attendance policy was at your time. Was there an attendance policy at that time?
Well, of course it was there was, and I think I had to repeat one of the subjects as well. I think in the third year, and that was because of attendance. That was the same year when I was the cultural secretary of the college as well. So,
Okay,
while
okay,
trying to, and I think it was the second year. I'm not sure. I think it was the second year. The fest at that point of time was called Blitz.
okay.
Uh, we did two editions of Blitz, and after that, when we were about to pass out, we kind of renamed it to something else. I'm not sure what the name is
Correct,
now.
correct.
But yeah, so second year is when I was like roaming the streets of Ahmedabad and Gujarat trying to find sponsors for the event, and that's when a couple of subjects is where I did not have enough attendance, and I had to repeat one subject.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's also an interesting memory of that time.
okay. So you did all of that.
As I
You
said,
were not always
yeah,
into
as I was
like,
saying,
yeah,
yeah, and as I was saying earlier, right, when you are a 19-year-old lad or 10 to 20-year-old lad, this felt like the life's biggest problem that you're ever going to face. कि back लग गया एक subject में repeat करना है, right? But if you look back at it now, it's nothing. I mean, it took time and it took some effort to
correct,
move past
correct.
it.
Okay, I
Yeah,
think you get this feeling after a few years you passed out of college की कितना ही छोटा चीज था, कितने हम लोगों ने फिक्र कर लिया, कितने
absolutely,
रात हम लोग नहीं सोए थे, पेरेंट्स कितने
absolutely.
पेरेंट्स कितने चिंतित थे कि बच्चे को एफ आ गया, अभी रिपोर्ट कार्ड में वो देखेगा, प्लेसमेंट वाले पूछेंगे,
Yeah.
शायद कुछ
It
कंपनीज
was
एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगी.
it was called XX back then. I'm not sure what it is called now. So F नहीं है
ओके,
वो.
ओके.
XX है. You're not allowed to appear for the exam because you did not have enough attendance in a particular subject.
ओके, ओके. Makes sense. So you did all of it, as in like you were in the cultural committee also. How much studying did you do in the 4 years? Or did you only study in the
Uh,
third, fourth year mostly? कैसा था?
would you repeat that, Arnav? I lost you
I'm
there for a
asking
bit.
like, so in through the 4 years of college, like, were you pretty studious or like did you like chill out more during the first 2 years? Third year में पढ़ाई चालू करी जब placement था. How was that? How was it for you?
Yeah, so my graph was like this, right? So it started with closer to 1.5 on the CPI scale, CPI, SPI, right? The semester performance index and cumulative performance index. So started closer to 1.7, 1.8, and
Okay,
I ended with 2.7. So, the graph kept on moving up. So first couple of years was exactly as you said, right? Enjoying the vibe, enjoying the newfound freedom. So this is the first time you've kind of moved out of your house. There is no uh,
no one watching
time
you.
to get back home. No one watching you, and there's no time to get back home. So you can have as many late nights as you want. Getting to know people, knowing your batchmates. That is what was done for the first 2 years, I think. And
Okay,
that's when it dawns कि अब थोड़ा सा ठीक करना पड़ेगा. I mean, if you want to be able to sit for decent companies
placement.
coming to your campus, or if you want to, gun for a decent MBA college as well, थोड़ा सा improve करना पड़ेगा. And that's why in third year and fourth year, you'll see guys getting a little serious towards the studies.
Correct.
And once you've kind of cleared the entrance exam of a competitive college like ours, all the guys who've come in here there are
Some
above
caliber.
average. It's just, yeah,
Yeah,
they're all above average. It's just that they're not, their time and efforts as well as their energies are going elsewhere.
correct.
They're spending a lot of time across the galla that is there,
Oh, it was there at
so
your
there
time
was
also.
sorry.
It was there at the Galla was there at your time also, as in
No,
even
absolutely.
in.
So in the NICM hostel that we were putting up in for the first 2 semesters, there was a guy from one of the northern states, I think Himachal Pradesh. His name was Negi.
Okay,
So he was the one who used to open the galla, throughout the night. And That's where all of us used to just swarm around, and we still are. Some of our batchmates, almost all of us, are a part of a group which is called Negi the Galla on WhatsApp. So we
Okay.
we are still, keeping in touch with each other over that WhatsApp group, and that's where we spend most of our first years, almost all the nights. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. नहीं so I think that's okay. सारे bad habits के लिए किसको blame करना भी वो पता चल गया. I think even the Galla was very famous at my time. Also, it shut in 2019 or 20. I'm not sure, and we
Okay.
can discuss this offline. I think that would be better uh,
Yeah.
rather than taking it online. But that's really nice. No, I think I had a very similar journey as yours. Even when I was getting into college, it was तभी भी कितना 15 साल हुआ था college में. So even my family members were a bit skeptical, but even my dad said the same thing. प्रोफेसर्स ने जो आपके टाइम पे बोला था, my dad said that कि लाइक बेटा कुछ ना कुछ नहीं होगा तो रिलायंस में तेरा जॉब लग जाएगा, and he was very assured with that. So
Yes.
very much relate to that. But I would say that my journey was very similar to, like first year, second year. I think till the end of third year, I had a lot of fun. Like पढ़ाई भी थी, मस्ती ज्यादा थी, पढ़ाई कम थी. एंड फोर्थ जैसे आपने बोला कि प्लेसमेंट आ रहा है, कोई ना कोई एमएस कर रहा है, कोई ना कोई प्लेसमेंट कर रहा है, कोई ना कोई
Yeah.
आईएमसी प्रिपरेशन कर रहा था, एमबीए की प्रिपरेशन कर रहा था. So I think that dawns upon you in the final years. Makes sense, makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing. Moving on, uh, like what does a CIO do? Like, I'm interested, I'm curious.
Um, Arnab, you were breaking up a little bit. Did I get the question
Okay.
right? What does a CIO do? Is
What
that
does a
what is that?
CIO do? Yeah. What does a CIO do?
Okay. Yeah. So we're heading towards the more serious topics, right?
The more corporate, please feel free to stop me if it gets too corporate.
No, no, not at
But
all. So okay. So yeah, that depends, largely on the kind of organization that you are working for, as a C-suite, right? And in an organization like Boat, when I joined them, I was the first guy to join their IT team. I mean,
okay,
prior to that, it was being managed through vendor partners, within the extremely excellent folks who are there in Boat. They were also doubling up as guys who'd manage technology and all.
makes sense.
And it was being managed like that. So when I joined in, the designation didn't really matter. What I had to do was to set up the entire technology landscape grounds up, to create the technology strategy for the organization for near term, mid term, long term, and also to create a fit for purpose tech team within the company. Not just on roles but off roles guys as well, guys who'd come in from other companies and work with us to get things going, to get the right set of partner ecosystem to come in and help do a few things that need to be done. But in more of a traditional setup for a slightly more evolved and mature organization, yet again the mota things that the CIO has to do would still remain the same, and that is to own and operate the tech strategy of the organization in sync with what business really wants to do. So in today's age and world, these are not two different things. So which means the tech strategy and the business strategy, they cannot exist in isolation of each other. Technology is now so deeply intertwined in what the organization wants to do, that when you are deciding what your business strategy has to be, what is your ambition, where do you intend to be in 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, you have to take technology as a front and center component of it, right? So even in larger and more mature organizations as well, CIO now has a seat in the boardroom, right? So he is helping define the business strategy in consultation with what the tech can do for you. In a smaller company like ours, a CIO would typically end up doing everything, right from taking care of whether network सही से चल रहा है कि नहीं से लेके where is it that we want to do, and where is it that we want to be in the next 5 years. What is
Hmm.
the impact that you need to have on the top line? What is the impact that you need to have on the bottom line? And therefore, what should be those tech interventions that you do today? What are the things that you incubate today? How would it mature over the next few years to get you there? Is in essence what a CIO typically would do.
Okay, makes sense. I relate one thing that you said, like in a startup like ours, a CIO almost does everything.
Absolutely.
What question I have for you is that you worked most of your life in top-notch legacy companies, and now you're working for a startup. Difference क्या है इन दोनों में काम करने के लिए? Like, what is the difference? Because जब प्लेसमेंट आता है, then you have Google, you have Morgan Stanley, you have Facebook, and then you also have tech startups like Flipkart, or it's not a startup anymore, but you
Not a
also have
startup.
unicorns. You have unicorns also. Like difference क्या है इन दोनों में काम करने का?
Hmm. Yeah, so see, in my personal experience, right, in the last role, the last significant role that I was doing was with HUL, Hindustan Unilever, wherein I was leading their IT for supply chain for South Africa as South Asia as a geography, which is India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So that point of time, I had a team of direct and indirect reports close to 200 guys. And from there on, when you join boat, and as I said, I was the first guy in the IT team. So you can imagine the transition that you have to prepare yourself for. Now, again, core principles. I keep going back to the core principles, right? One, any problem, big or small, you can break it down to smaller pieces. You put in the right time, right kind of efforts, you'd be able to solve for it. Uh, in a corporate setup, whether it's small, big, really large, the basics still remain the same. आपको धंधा करना है profitably, sustainably, right? Now, for that to be done, you need to understand where the business is headed. How can you partner business to actually, help them get there faster in a more efficient, more scalable manner. So basics between, whether it's a startup, whether it's a large organization, basics always remain the same. It is, the circus around it which kind of changes. So in
Correct,
a large organization, there would be multiple layers above you and below you to help you achieve that common minimum objective that the organization is kind of set up for you. In a smaller organization, you'll not have a lot of layers here and there, and therefore the buck would stop at you. There will not be much to hide from. You'll not have a shield covering your ass, if something goes wrong or the shit hits the fan, right? So then
correct.
you've got to be prepared for owning the responsibility end to end in a smaller setup.
Hmm.
In a larger setup as well, I mean, you should own that responsibility. You should have a bias for action. But then there are multiple layers in the organization which will, account for failures, which will account for inefficiencies. You'd be able to, easily bid your time for a few years without before even getting noticed that you're good for nothing or you're really great. You know.
Correct, correct, correct. Makes sense. How does a day of a CIO look like?
Well, it's busy to say the least, and I mean you can look at this, right? I mean we're doing this at 8:30 on a Sunday evening because I could not find any other slot on a Friday or on a Saturday. The fest was a 3-day affair, I think, right?
Correct,
So yeah, it is a little busy, but it's extremely exciting. And what happens is you see immediate results of what you're doing. As I said, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, right? There are no levels below you, there are no levels above you, which would kind of cover you for something that you've decided on, right? So then it brings in immense joy also if you do something and you see the results of it.
correct.
So it is busy, but it's extremely exciting.
Okay,
And it's long, it's a little stretched, but then you love what you do, so you not really have it will not feel like work anymore.
correct. How do you unwind then? Like, आपका इतना busy schedule है. Like, what do you do yourself, or do you block time for yourself on the calendar? Like, what's your unwind schedule like?
Right. So yeah, I mean, two three things that I go to. One, spending quality time with my family, right, with my wife, and I have a 6.5-year-old daughter. So once I get home, howsoever the day would have been, once I get into the door, I leave it all outside. So spending some quality time with the family really helps at all times. Uh, I do like to ride. I have a bike of my own. So taking it out for a spin on a highway, just do a 20-kilometer stretch either ways. That also helps you unwind a little bit. These are simpler things. If this doesn't work for me, meditation always works. I do take out some time to meditate, maybe 10 minutes a day. That kind of centers your core. It kind of gives you enough strength to be able to deal with the next day which is coming your way. So these are the top two, three things that I generally do to unwind. Yeah.
How did you get into meditation? Like, पहले से था या जब काम ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा था तब किसी ने सजेस्ट
नहीं नहीं, so it was not it did not come through because of crisis, कि ऐसा नहीं कि कोई crisis है या कुछ बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है, that is why you are heading towards
करेक्ट
medicine. It was just something which both my wife and I were really excited about. We just wanted to see what and how it can help you better experience life. So we do follow Sadhguru. I'm not sure whether you guys would have heard of him or not, but we do follow him. We
ऑफ
keep
कोर्स
listening to
यार
what he says. Yeah, and we've done a couple of courses also from his end, and that really has helped me center myself. Uh, it kind of brings in a sense of calm, and that how do you put it? I mean, this knowledge, that it's a moment at the end of it all, and it's going to pass, howsoever difficult it might be. It's not going to be as difficult just the next instant. So we need to know this, and that has really helped us do better for ourselves, keep centered, keep calm at times. Yeah.
ओके ओके मेक सेंस अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस डू यू डू एनी ट्रैवलिंग एनी फेवरेट ट्रैवल डेस्टिनेशंस एनीथिंग लाइक दैट आर यू ट्रैवल गाय
Yeah, I love traveling. Yes, absolutely. So whenever time permits, right from doing small weekend getaways in and around Bangalore, and I've been blessed to stay in two of the best cities in the country, right, Mumbai and Bangalore. And if you
करेक्ट
if you talk about Mumbai, there are like hundred of things that you can do over a weekend, and same is the case with Bangalore as well. So
करेक्ट
for both of
करेक्ट
these cities, all of these weekend destinations, we've kind of checked them on a map. We've covered almost all of it. uh, Internationally as well, whenever time permits, whenever budget permits, I think we like to do a trip once in a while.
ओके
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, the entire family, including my daughter, we are all travel buffs. As much as we can, we try and fit this in our hectic schedule otherwise.
ओके ओके एंड व्हिच फूड डिड यू लाइक बेटर बॉम्बे's और बैंगलोर's
That's a difficult one. Yeah, okay, so यार बॉम्बे का खाना ना बहुत फिट फॉर पर्पस है, मतलब you'll even with a 5 rupee note in your wallet से लेके 5,000 you get all kinds of varieties, and almost the most luxurious restaurants in Bombay are also QSR, they're quick service restaurants. So अगर आप Bombay, and this was a transition for me when we moved from Bombay to Bangalore, right? The first thing that we noticed was इतना slow क्यों है यहाँ पे सब कुछ. The why is Bangalore moving at a pace at which it is moving? Because if you notice, Bombay is fast, right? Everything is fast there. किसी भी रेस्टोरेंट में जाओ फटाफट काम होगा. You'll get your order quickly. You'll be out of it. Bangalore में the pace is a little slower, so we've kind of now gotten used to that slow pace of the city. It is slower than Mumbai for sure. Food, there are hits and misses on either side. So Mia and Khurshid, these are the two places that we remember. Both of them are like really good joints, late night joints
व्हिच वन
again.
व्हिच
Uh,
वन
Bade Mia is
करेक्ट
is
करेक्ट
is
करेक्ट
towards
करेक्ट या
the
I'm losing you a
an
bit.
omelette joint.
I'm
Yeah.
I've lost the
How about
entire
now?
after
Can you yeah,
Bademias.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Your video was a little blurry, but yep, now I can.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so Bade Mia and Khurshid, these are the two iconic ones, at least for me, in Mumbai. And in Bangalore, if you look at it, there is Vidyarthi Bhavan, there is MTR. Uh, the kind of food that you get here, top-notch South Indian cuisine. And Bangalore obviously is famous for its microbreweries. So the kind of the brews that you get here, it's not you'll not find it anywhere else in the country.
Okay, okay, makes sense. That brings us towards the fag end of our conversation. Uh, what are three fond memories of college, or like what are when have you recalled college during your being during your career when you thought that कि यार ये कॉलेज में सीखा था या ये कॉलेज में ही मैंने किया था जो आज मुझे लाइफ में हेल्प कर रहा है what are three life points that you've had
So the first one, the organization skills that has helped me almost all throughout my career. That was in the making from DICT only. And I said second year is when I was the cultural secretary of the college. To be able to work with the set of folks there on campus, to get sponsorships externally, to be able to organize the first ever fest, and it was a cult fest, not a tech fest. To be able to do so end to end, right? So that organization's skill exposure at the early stage of your career, I think, has helped me all throughout. Uh, Second, the flexibility that the campus afforded to its students right at the start, to be able to explore their interest areas, to also have a very keen sense ki, even though it's a tech oriented course, but you might have a little bit more inclination towards marketing or towards economics, and those are okay for you to explore. Or
All
some
right.
of you might have, a little bit more inclination towards design thinking. You want to do industrial designing, for example. To be able to give that flexibility to be for us to be able to explore all of it was the second big win from the college. And the third one, the kind of the friendships and the network that we built together in the batch, and the assurance that someone is going to have your back. If something is going wrong during those 4 years when you were at the campus, or even beyond it, if there's something which you would need help on, there is always someone in the batch who will have your back. Yeah, so those are top three things that I can pick up as a recollection, as really fond memories, really influence shaping quite a lot of our careers so far.
I completely agree. I think people skills being the first one. Second was the open culture of the college that it had. I recall I started to think deeply or think for an extended period of time because there was a course in my third year, and it was a literature course actually. It was taken by Professor Amishal Modi, and she used to make us sit at very vague places, like sit in a park for 3 hours and write what's coming on your mind. Go to a very busy street, sit down, take a pen and paper, switch off your phone, and write. I think those are the cross-cultural things that you or strange things, or it made you really open as an individual, I think. And today I thank courses like that for giving me that well-rounded approach, because technical log hai, of course we are good at tech, maths पढ़ के आए हैं, science पढ़ के आए हैं, we'll always have that in our blood. But that thing I really thank DICT for that well-roundedness that it gave. I agree. And to all these studious students, all the say probably the placement focused students right now, do you have any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, so one, I think a key takeaway should be it's going to get easier, guys, as you grow along, right? It's going to get easier. There would be newer challenges that will come your way, but it's going to get easier as you grow, and live in the moment, have some fun as well along the way, right? Placements वगैरह हो जाएगी, सबकी हो जाती है mostly, right? So I think you guys would have worked quite hard so far, so try and have some fun as well along the way. And believe me when I say that it's going to get easier as you grow. Things will become simpler. Just keep a clear head on your shoulders, put in the right time, right efforts on things which you feel are important and need to be sorted by you, and I think you should be able to solve those problems and come out of it as a winner.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Shashwat. My takeaway for
Yeah.
tonight is time and efforts, and I'm going to apply that from tomorrow to see मैं कैसे problems जो मेरी हर रोज की होती है हमारे रोजमर्रा की, how can we apply that on a daily basis? How can we take out some time? I'm not a practicer of meditation, but I've heard a lot of positive reviews, even life changing, but I'm a little impatient by nature, so uh,
All you and not just you, everyone will find their calling when it's time, right? So maybe not as of now. So
I
maybe a few
agree.
years down the line you might find your calling. But
Makes
yeah,
sense.
good that you're able to take this takeaway saying time and effort would be able to help solve things. Yeah,
Correct.
it has worked for me for sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shashwat. Thank you for your time. I'll let you go back to your family. Sunday रात है कल वापस. Everyone is going to have some Monday blues. Especially the fest is also going to get over. And for corporate employees like us, we have early morning meetings. So thank you so much for your time. Had a lovely time discussing topics from college to career to advices to even the galla. So yeah, thank you so much. Best of luck. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me. All the best to everyone who is listening in. Thank you so much, guys. And I really look forward to visiting the campus sometime. Thank you all. Have a good night.